You wake up before the sun, the way you always do, except the sun does not come. The sky is the wrong color, thick and low, pressing down like a lid. Your throat is dry before you even sit up. Somewhere on the other side of the planet, a mountain has torn itself open. You will never know its name. You will only know that the world you understood yesterday does not exist anymore, and that some researchers believe the number of people left alive like you, scattered across the entire Earth, may have fallen into the low thousands. This is not a story about heroes. It is a story about the ones who happened to already be standing in the one place that still had something to eat. You go to hunt anyway, because that is what the morning is for. But the trail is wrong. The grass crunches white under your feet, not green. The waterhole is silent. No birds, no tracks. You have never once in your life stood somewhere this quiet. 3 days pass like this. The prey does not come back. The roots you dig are stunted, choked with ash instead of soil. Somewhere behind you, someone stops getting up in the morning. You do not have a word yet for what is happening. You only have the hunger, and the silence, and the sky that will not clear. Here is what you don't know. Standing in that ash, roughly 74,000 years ago, a volcano on the island now called Sumatra erupted with a force no human has ever witnessed since. Toba. The eruption was so large, it left an ash layer that scientists have since traced across India, across the floor of the Indian Ocean. Thousands of kilometers from the mountain itself, Stanley Ambrose at the University of Illinois proposed in 1998 that the eruption triggered a volcanic winter, severe enough to collapse global temperatures for years. Some estimates built on that theory put the surviving human population at only a few thousand breeding individuals worldwide. Nobody agrees on how bad it actually got. Everybody agrees something did. Michael Petroglia's team, and excavating a site called Julapuram in India, found stone tools. Directly above and below the Toba, ash layer with no clear break in continuity, that's evidence some human populations may have weathered the eruption with less devastation than the worst version of the theory predicts. The scale of the disaster is still argued over. But here is the part that changes the whole shape of this story. The thing that ended up saving anyone wasn't invented in response to the eruption at all. You walk toward the sound you can still hear over the silence, water moving somewhere past the tree line, not the dead waterhole behind you. The other water, the one that never stops, you reach the edge of it. The land ends here and the water begins. And, unlike everywhere else, you have walked for 3 days. There is life in the rocks along the shore, not running from you, not hiding, just sitting there, under the low tide line, waiting. You pry one open with a stone because you are too hungry to be careful. It does not fight you. You eat it raw, standing in the cold water, and nothing about the moment feels like victory. It feels like the last thing left to try. Here is what nobody tells you about this moment. Curtis Marine, at Arizona State University, has spent decades excavating a site called Pinnacle Point on South Africa's southern coast, and what he found there is dated to roughly 164,000 years. But go shellfish harvesting, systematic and repeated, tens of thousands of years before Toba ever erupted. The coastal diet wasn't a discovery born out of crisis. It was already an old habit, practiced by people who had no volcano to survive, for reasons that had nothing to do with an ending world. When the sky went dark and the interior stopped producing enough food to live on, the population still working that coastline wasn't adapting. They were simply continuing to do the unremarkable thing they had already been doing for generations, in the one place where the ocean didn't care what was happening to the sky. So what does that mean for you, standing here right now? If the most severe version of the Toba hypothesis holds, human genetic diversity today is unusually low compared to other great apes. Some researchers read that as the signature of a population that once passed through a very narrow bottleneck. That interpretation is disputed, and the debate is far from resolved. But the shape of the argument is this. Every person alive today may trace back to a founding population, small enough to fit inside a single stadium. And if that's true, the thread connecting all of it back to you isn't bravery. It isn't cleverness. It's an old habit that had nothing to do with any of this, kept going by people who never knew it would matter, in the one place the disaster didn't reach. You don't know any of this while you're standing in the tide. You are not thinking about the future, or about being remembered, or about anyone who will ever stand where you are standing. You are only thinking about tomorrow's hunger and the fact that this cold, ugly stretch of rock has food in it when nowhere else does. That is the whole plan. There is no other plan. You go back the next low tide, and the one after that, not because you have decided to save anything, because it is Tuesday, in the only way anyone in this world has a Tuesday, and the rocks are still there, and you are still hungry, somewhere far off. The ash is still falling on people who never found water like this. Their story ends in the quiet you walked away from 3 days ago. Yours does not. Not because you were stronger, or smarter, or chosen. Because a long time before any of this began, someone already decided the ocean was worth checking. You were never the one who adapted. You were only ever the one who happened to already be standing in the right place when everyone else's world ended.